I used to believe there were some promises a person could make and actually keep. Not because promises were sacred. Not because people were always honest. But because sometimes the consequences of breaking them were simply too painful to imagine. That was what I told myself the night I met Daniel at the old train station. Rain was falling heavily outside, turning the windows into blurred sheets of silver. The station was nearly empty. A few people sat scattered across the wooden benches, staring at their phones or watching the clock as though staring hard enough might make the delayed train arrive faster. I stood near the vending machines with my arms folded, watching the rain. I had been waiting for nearly 40 minutes. And I was angry. Not because of the delay. Because Daniel had promised he would come. And Daniel was never late. Still waiting. His voice came from behind me. I turned. Daniel stood there, holding 2 paper cups of coffee. His dark jacket was damp around the shoulders, his hair slightly messy from the rain. He smiled. That same familiar smile. The one that had gotten him forgiven for more things than I cared to admit. You said you'd be here 20 minutes ago. I know. You said that 15 minutes ago too. He laughed quietly and handed me one of the cups. Peace offering. I looked at it. Then at him. I don't accept bribes. It's coffee. Exactly. He smiled again. I tried not to smile back. I failed. That had always been the problem with Daniel. He knew exactly how to make me forget why I was angry. We had known each other for almost 10 years. Our friendship had survived university, terrible relationships, career changes, family problems, long-distance moves, and more late-night conversations than either of us could count. We had seen each other at our worst. He had seen me cry. I had seen him break down. He knew the things I didn't tell other people. And I knew the things he pretended didn't hurt him. That should have made us closer. It should have made us safer. Instead, somewhere along the way, it had made things complicated. But neither of us had ever said it. Because there had always been one rule. One promise. We don't cross that line. Daniel had said those words 3 years earlier. We had been sitting on the hood of his car after a friend's wedding, watching the city lights below us. I remembered the exact moment. He had looked at me. Really looked at me. Then he said, "We're too important to each other to ruin this." I had nodded. Agreed. Friends. Friends. Nothing complicated? Nothing complicated. He held out his hand. I shook it. And that was our promise. We would never become anything more. 3 years later, I was beginning to wonder whether promises could expire. The train finally arrived around midnight. We boarded quietly. There were only a handful of passengers. Daniel took the seat beside me. For the first few minutes, neither of us spoke. The train rocked gently as it moved through the darkness. I watched the city disappear outside the window. Then Daniel spoke. "Are you happy?" I looked at him. "What kind of question is that?" "A simple one." "Why are you asking?" He shrugged. "You've seemed different lately." I looked back through the window. Different how? Quieter. "I'm tired." "You've been tired for 6 months." I smiled faintly. "You've been keeping track?" I noticed things. Something about the way he said it made my chest tighten. I turned toward him. He was staring ahead. "You always notice things," I said. "About you." The words were quiet. Almost casual. But they stayed between us. I looked away. The train continued through the darkness. Neither of us said anything for several minutes. Then I whispered, "I'm not happy." Daniel's expression changed. "Why?" I hesitated. Because I didn't know how to explain it. My life looked perfect from the outside. Good job. Nice apartment. Friends. Family. Everything was where it was supposed to be. But somehow, I felt like I was standing outside my own life, watching someone else live it. "I don't know," I finally admitted. He nodded slowly. "Sometimes that's the hardest answer." I looked at him. Have you ever felt that way? He laughed softly. Every day. I smiled. You're terrible at pretending. So are you. The train passed beneath a bridge. For a second, the windows reflected our faces. We looked like strangers. Two tired people sitting beside each other in the middle of the night. But I knew him. I knew the small crease that appeared between his eyebrows when he was worried. I knew how he rubbed the back of his neck when he didn't know what to say. I knew he drank coffee without sugar when he was stressed. I knew he hated being alone but pretended he didn't. And apparently, I knew him well enough to notice when he was looking at me differently. I just didn't know what to do about it. When we arrived at our destination, the rain had become heavier. Daniel opened his umbrella. Come on. I can walk. I know. Then why are you holding the umbrella? Because you're going to get wet. I'm already wet. He looked at me. That sounded wrong. I burst out laughing. He laughed too. And somehow, for a moment, everything felt normal again. We walked through the rain beneath the small umbrella. Our shoulders occasionally touched. Neither of us moved away. That was the first thing I noticed. Neither of us moved away. The following week, I tried to forget the night at the station. It shouldn't have mattered. It was just coffee. Just a train ride. Just two friends talking. But something had changed. I could feel it. Daniel seemed quieter around me. Not distant. Just careful. Like he was measuring every word before saying it. One evening I called him. Are you avoiding me? There was silence on the other end. No. That was a very fast answer. Because it's true. Then why haven't you called? I've been busy. You've never been too busy to annoy me. He laughed. I can start. Don't. The laughter disappeared. Another silence. Then he asked, why? I didn't answer immediately. Because I didn't know. Because hearing his voice had suddenly become something I needed more than I wanted to admit. I don't know, I said. His voice softened. I miss you too. My heart skipped. That's not what I said. I know. Another silence. Are you okay? He asked. Yes. You're lying. Maybe. Do you want me to come over? I closed my eyes. No. Are you sure? Yes. He paused. Okay. The call ended. I stared at my phone. For several minutes, I did nothing. Then there was a knock at my door. I froze. Another knock. I opened it. Daniel stood outside. I stared at him. You said you weren't coming. I know. Then why are you here? He looked at me. I changed my mind. Something inside me shifted. I stepped aside. Come in. He entered. Neither of us spoke. The apartment felt unusually quiet. He removed his jacket and placed it over the chair. There? I asked. Sure. I went into the kitchen. He followed. You don't have to stay. I know. You can go. I know. I turned around. Then why aren't you going? He looked at me. And for the first time, I didn't see my best friend. I saw a man who was struggling to hide something. I don't know, he whispered. My heartbeat became loud. Daniel. He looked away. I think we need to talk. About what? Us. I swallowed. There is no us. He nodded. I know. Then what are we talking about? He looked back at me. The fact that maybe there should be. The room went completely still. I couldn't breathe properly. He took one step toward me, then stopped. I shouldn't have said that. No. I didn't mean. You did. He stared at me. I stared back. For years, we had hidden behind friendship. Behind jokes. Behind late-night conversations. Behind that promise. But suddenly the wall felt fragile. You know why we made that promise? I asked. Yes. Because we were afraid. He lowered his eyes. Yes. Afraid of losing each other. Yes. Maybe we already lost something. He looked at me. What? I smiled sadly. The simplicity. He didn't answer. Because he knew I was right. 2 weeks later, we went away for the weekend. Not together. At least, that was what we told ourselves. We were attending the same friend's wedding in another city. Separate rooms. Separate plans. No complications. That was the agreement. The wedding was beautiful. Music filled the hall. People danced. Friends laughed. Everyone seemed happy. Except me. Because every time I looked across the room, I found Daniel looking at me. Not staring. Just watching. And every time our eyes met, one of us looked away. By midnight, I escaped outside. The hotel terrace was quiet. The city stretched below me, glowing beneath the dark sky. I leaned against the railing. Running away? I didn't need to turn. Maybe. Daniel came to stand beside me. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then he said, "You looked beautiful tonight." I smiled. Thank you. I've wanted to tell you that for years. My smile disappeared. I turned toward him. Daniel. I know. Don't. I know. Then stop. I've tried. His voice broke slightly. That was what frightened me. Not the words. The honesty. He wasn't trying to impress me. He wasn't flirting. He was tired. Tired of pretending. I don't want to ruin your life, he said. You won't. I don't want to ruin ours. I looked down. You don't know what will happen. Neither do you. He was right. The wind moved gently through my hair. Daniel reached out instinctively, then stopped himself. His hand fell back to his side. That tiny movement hurt more than if he had touched me, because it reminded me of the promise. The invisible line. The distance we had spent years protecting. I think about you too much, he whispered. I closed my eyes. Don't say that. Why? Because then I'll have to admit I do too. Silence. He looked at me. Do you? I nodded. Yes. Something changed in his face. Not triumph. Not excitement. Relief. And somehow that was more dangerous. He stepped closer. Not touching me. Just close enough that I could feel his warmth. I don't want to rush this. Neither do I. We should be careful. I know. We should think. I know. He smiled faintly. You keep saying you know. Because I do. Then why are you still here? I looked into his eyes. Because I don't want to leave. Neither of us moved. The city continued below us. Cars passed. Music drifted faintly from the ballroom. But the world around us seemed distant. For one suspended moment, there was nothing except the space between us. Then Daniel whispered, "What happens now?" I didn't know. Maybe that was the point. For once, we didn't need an answer. The next morning, I woke up with a strange feeling. Not regret. Not happiness. Something in between. I looked at my phone. There was a message from Daniel. Good morning. I smiled. Then another message appeared. Are you okay? I typed. Yes. Are you? His reply came quickly. For the first time in a long time. I stared at the screen. Then typed. Me too. I expected fear. Instead, I felt calm. Maybe because nothing had actually happened. Maybe because we hadn't crossed any line. We had simply admitted the truth. And sometimes the truth was enough to change everything. When I returned home that evening, I found Daniel waiting outside my apartment. "You know," I said, "you really need to stop appearing at my door." He smiled. "I could. But you won't." "No." I opened the door. "Come in." He followed. We sat on the couch. There was no dramatic confession. No grand gesture. No promises about forever. Just two people sitting together, finally honest. "I've been thinking," he said. "That's dangerous." He laughed. "I think we should start over." "Start over?" "Yes." "As strangers?" "No." "As friends?" He looked at me. "As two people who are allowed to discover what this is." I considered his words, then smiled. "I can live with that." He extended his hand. I looked at it, then took it. His fingers closed gently around mine. Nothing dramatic happened. No sander. No music. No magical moment. Just warmth. Steadiness. A feeling of finally putting down something heavy I'd been carrying for years. "I don't know where this goes," I whispered. "Neither do I. And that scares me." "Me too." I smiled. "Good. Good. At least we're scared together." He laughed softly. Then his expression became serious. "Whatever happens, I don't want to lose you." I squeezed his hand. "You won't." "Promise." I looked at him. 3 years earlier, that word had meant boundaries, distance, protection. Now it meant something different. "I promise I'll be honest." He nodded. "That's enough." We sat there quietly. The evening light slowly disappeared through the windows. And for the first time, silence didn't feel like something we had to fill. It felt like something we could share. Months later, I sometimes thought about that night at the train station. The rain. The coffee. The conversation. The way Daniel had looked at me when he finally admitted what he had been hiding. I realized something. The promise had never really been about not falling in love. It had been about being afraid of what love might cost us. We thought avoiding our feelings would protect our friendship. But feelings don't disappear because you refuse to name them. They wait. They grow quietly. They hide in ordinary moments. In long conversations. In shared laughter. In the way someone remembers exactly how you take your coffee. In the way they notice when you're pretending to be okay. In the way they show up when you say you don't need them. And sometimes, all it takes is one night. One honest conversation. One moment when two people finally stop running from something they've both known for a long time. Daniel and I never knew exactly what that night would lead to. Maybe that's what made it beautiful. There were no guarantees. No perfect ending. Just a beginning. A fragile one. A frightening one. But ours. And sometimes, the best stories don't begin when two people meet. Sometimes they begin when two people finally admit they've been seeing each other all along. We had promised it would never happen. Until that night. And after that night, we stopped making promises about what we could never feel. We simply promised to be honest about what we did.